Hello and welcome to This Contains Garlic. You are here with your hosts Georgia Garlic
Mark Garlic.
and we are back for episode 9. I think in episode 7 we said we'd get a jingle. We still haven't.
No, we haven't.
We haven't been too consistent with the jingle. What are we
Jingle's
talking
quite
about?
hard to get because what do you go with? Do you go with like elevator music? Do you go with soft rock? Do you
What?
go with hip hop,
Soft rock?
R&B, maybe
No,
a bit
but
of drum and bass?
I think to be honest with you, I don't really know what would. I think maybe we should leave it to the listeners.
What about like a cappella
Well, how about you
harmonizing?
just sing, Mark? Do you know what I mean? That'd be wonderful.
Hmm.
No, no, and no again. Today, guys, we're not talking about Mark's singing skills or jingles. We are talking about consistency, a word which probably majority of people don't want to listen to,
Yeah.
because I guess being consistent with anything in your life is what reaps the most rewards, but can also be probably the most challenging thing to succeed with on a daily basis.
Yeah. I think generally having worked with hundreds and thousands of clients over the years, we would say that can sometimes be the biggest crux for,
Crux.
yeah, that's the word of the day, crux.
That's a horrible word. I don't know what it is. It's like moist.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, let's move on from crux.
Yeah, it can be the biggest hurdle for some people in general. So we kind of just want to break what we kind of think consistency is all about, and also manage people's expectations when it comes to consistency in general.
Yeah, I think it's important when it comes to things. How many times do you think we're going to say consistency in this podcast?
1,000
We've
times.
probably already said it like 15 times. But I think when consistency in anything in your life requires you, I think, number one, to enjoy something.
Mm,
Now, that's not necessarily always the case when it's something like work, or not, you're not always consistently going to love your job or
yeah,
consistently love everything that comes with it, but it's that general nature of trying. And I think if you're
yeah,
conscious with trying to be consistent, you're already one step ahead from not really, I guess, switching onto it at all. I think it's also really important to say that we are massive advocates for not being perfect,
yeah.
and we're all about consistent trends rather than perfection.
Yeah, like if you've got five self care habits, for example, let's say you have five self care habits that you can divide into individual tasks. Let's say steps is one, general exercise is one, uh, calories or proteins or macros or fit in any nutritional guidelines that you follow. If those are like your individual self care habits and you're able to be consistent with some, maybe not perfect with others,
Mm.
then that is still a win at the end of the day. And being bogged down by consistently wanting to be perfect, or feeling the need that you have to be perfect,
Mm.
can also
Yeah.
impact your general uh, uh, over. I don't want to say the word consistency again because now I feel like we all we're saying is just the word
Let's
consistency
say
over it.
crux instead. I think, yeah, I mean, I would like to actually just point out that I think that our industry has always run via sort of time lengths, in the sense of
Mm,
when you have a coach, or maybe you sign up to a program, or maybe you're using an app of some sort, or
mm,
all of these things, they tend to give you sort of days in which you should be consistent for, and then like
yeah,
it's always that thing of like what happens after that. And so I
yeah,
guess, we obviously, in parts of our coaching, obviously we do offer 12-week blocks of coaching, whatever.
mm,
And in a way, that's our way of saying to you, okay, we would like you to try, and carve out 12 weeks of your time to really get you forward in your goals.
yeah.
But I also think it has, and so many people do this. I see it time and time again, especially via social media, stuff
Mm.
like 28-day challenges,
I was gonna say challenges.
challenges. Yeah,
Yeah.
all of these things, which are wonderful things and tools to manipulate with to get you going. But I
Mm.
think it's always the aftermath where people go, well, what do I do after this? Like, okay, I've been consistent for X amount of weeks, okay, what do I do after? And I think we are probably it's kind of a hard thing with the
It's
consumer
the
industry to
industry. Well,
not.
it's not just our industry. It's just life in general is very
Yeah.
goal orientated. You know, when you go and sit down for a job, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah,
What are your
well,
goals?
God knows.
Everything is everything. Well, once you finish school, what uni are you going to? What goals are you trying to achieve? So everything is so goal orientated
Mm.
that what happens once you've achieved your goal, or
I don't think.
everything that's based around and outside of that goal. But it's like once people achieve a certain goal, then it's like, then what?
I do
Or
think, like, if we're talking, we like the word pinnacles. We've said this on a few. We're talking the pinnacles of people in every
mm,
situation, not just in nutrition and training and all of that.
yeah,
I think, I don't think, as I've said before, the goal ever really ends. But again, it's that thing of, should you have to be, or consistent every single day with being ticking everything off. And I think, in terms of, from my feedback, like, I mean, having done and, obviously dealt with many, many clients through journeys, and also been through a journey myself, you're not always going to be
no,
consistent. And there are going to be times. And I think the biggest fuck up with consistency is when life throws you a shit.
yeah,
And, it happens to the best of us. You could have personal stresses going on, you could have work stresses going on, children's stresses, you name it, that could be going on. And that's the biggest thing, which will take somebody away from being like, oh, I can do this, to being like, I can't do it.
mm,
But I think that also comes down to enjoyment, like, and enjoying what you do. So then you
yeah,
feel like you
and
always want to do it.
your overall perception and perspective on the way you view certain habits. So, you could, for example, if you're going through a stressful period in your life, see physical exertion as an outlet, a positive outlet for the way that you're currently feeling. But that is down to the way you perceive things and the way you look at things. Or you could see it as a chore,
Yeah.
and that, oh, I don't really want to do it, and insert any excuse. When in reality, everybody knows that, you know, concluding and ticking off certain self-care habits generally tend to make you feel better both mentally and physically.
Yeah, I think we all have our challenges and
Mm.
certain things, like, for example, I always say, like, the biggest thing for exercise for somebody like me in training is the fact that it it sounds a bit like deep, but it's like releasing demons. It's like,
Mm.
it's all those demons that you sit with that
Yeah.
you then go and release. And, like, for I've struggled with massive mental health issues throughout the years, with, like, managing large extensive anxiety and depression. And if I didn't have training and I wasn't consistent with training, I would have been in
Mm.
a really worse off state
Yeah.
mentally. And I think for me, that's what, okay, I say, right, sometimes, if last episode we were talking about menstrual cycles, you could probably tell in the episode that I wasn't really feeling much, like, I wasn't feeling great. I wasn't feeling, 10 out of 10. And, those are the times where I know that my mental health is going to be even more impacted because my
Mm.
hormones are changing. But if I don't go to the gym and I don't exert that level of sort of energy, or,
Mm.
mental, then I'm going to end up worse. So that's why, even though sometimes I don't feel like doing stuff,
Mm.
I still do it, because I know the same with, like, eating well.
Yeah.
Like, I have to say, like, chocolate does make me feel good, like, when I
Mm.
eat it. Like, it does. It's that dopamine fix that we've
Yeah.
always ranted on about. But I know that if I fuel myself, and probably vice versa with you, Mark,
Mm.
with good food, you're going to feel better. And I
Yeah.
think it's that thing, being consistent with that, of knowing that what you are doing is actually making you better. And this is not just physically.
Yeah.
I think this all comes down to mentally,
Yeah.
and feeling yourself, so that you're giving yourself the best chance to feel good, about yourself. And that's on a number of things, being consistent with sleep. And
And it's not always about changing what you're trying to do and looking for better ways of going about things. It's
yeah.
literally about being consistent to something and doing it well enough so that, maybe if it doesn't work for you, then once you've done it consistently enough over time, and okay, maybe it's not for me, then you can afford yourself
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think it's
the
so many
ability to
times.
change what you're doing, but you need to consistently try and plug away. You know, the grass is not always going to be greener on the other side. And upon self reflection, if you haven't been that adherent and consistent to certain things, you know, you need to make sure that you give yourself the best available chance to see benefits from a
Yeah, and this
certain.
is a good thing to say is because, with anything when it comes to, being consistent in self-care habits, like you're not always going to see like huge progress. Like,
No.
and I think a lot of people search, as we said, progress
Mm,
physically.
yeah.
And we'll go again at how many times I've probably said this in episodes that, your diet and your training and your sleep and everything like that is not something you implement into your life.
Yeah.
It is something that is a way of life. It's something that
Yeah.
you should see as literally your life on a day-to-day
Yeah.
basis. And I think if you constantly seek for a physical result, you're
Mm,
going to be disappointed.
yeah.
And so what Mark said just, a second ago, wanting to chop and change because you think something might not work or you don't feel like you enjoy
Yeah.
is actually, you're going to be worse off because,
Mm,
to put it in context, if you can't be consistent with something, and then this is not the perfect, this is not, 10 out of 10. If you
mm,
can't be consistent with something, then going and changing it, your expectation on yourself is quite huge to be then consistent with that.
mhm,
And it ends up in this sort of hamster wheel cycle of like not being able to actually be consistent with anything. And
mhm.
then you just give up. And
Yeah.
that's not where you should be at and what you want to be aiming for.
Yeah. Or you think for whatever reason that it's not working because there's something wrong with you. It could be,
Yeah.
you know, your hormones. It could be your metabolism, because there's a lot of people say, oh, my metabolism's broken, for example. We get that quite a bit. You know, you start to think that you are the problem when that's not the case. Like, you're not broken. Everything is fine generally. And it's just focusing internal narratives and energy into positive self-care habits that you can stick to consistently and that you actually enjoy.
Yeah.
And there's no one size fits all. And I know we harp on about strength training and resistance training, and the only reason why we do that is because of the benefits that we do see from that modality over other types of exercise.
Yeah, I
Cert-
think that also though, but there's a difference there because I would argue the fact that, maybe not strength training and doing something potentially cardiovascular, like maybe you
Mm,
like to run or you're like a marathon runner, maybe you like to do triathlons, you could be you like to cycle. I think we all have our vices that make us
yeah.
happy and consistent. Obviously, strength training does have huge amounts of benefit
Yeah, but I'm not
physically.
saying for those people that enjoy other forms of exercise, strength train, adding a little bit of strength training, like a little bit of seasoning, you know, is always going to complement anything that you do, whether
Yeah, but
it's
I always say, look,
running,
when with
skiing.
consistency, if you take on too much, you won't be consistent with it. And I think
True.
whenever I've dealt with clients on, a one-to-one basis, I've always said to them that like what's really important is you just try and implement one of these things first.
Yeah, that's
And,
true.
if let's say an example, you have a lot of weight to lose, this could be, this is a very common practice that we obviously do with clients. If you have a lot of weight to lose, and of course, to be perfect, let's do 10,000 steps per day or
Yeah.
more. Let's eat a really nutritious diet and cut out all the
Hmm.
foods I like. Let's do all of this. I'm going to go to the gym 6 times a
Yeah.
week.
And
None
the
of
expectations
that.
are too high.
It's
Yeah.
not, you can't physically be, you might be able to do that for a few weeks, but when you
Mm,
go into a journey like this, it's really important that you just say, right, I'm going to try one thing for a couple of weeks consistently to be adherent to
mm,
it. And then you bring in other factors where you can go,
mm,
okay, I've now got comfortable with that and the way that I've
yeah.
implemented into a routine. I can now think about this. We say this all the time. If you're, let's say, average number, a 40-year-old, and you are potentially have never addressed anything in your life health wise, or
Yeah.
you've never really thought about your health in sort of a considerate way, you need to understand that you have spent 40 years of your life in that mindset. And if you go and take yourself onto a large regime of overhaul,
Yeah.
you're going to be probably like, I can't really do this for a long period of time.
Yeah.
It's too much for me to think about. And also, the biggest thing we get is, why is it taking so long? And that's one of the things where people struggle with consistency. It's taking too long. So I can't be consistent for longer than this because I don't believe that I'm actually going to get to where I want to be. But, you know, you have to sit there and go, well, I'm 40 years old. And this is just an example midway, you know, sort of midlife, sort of where you have, as I've just said, 40 years living a life and a mindset that you have got to in that position. If you think that you're going to be able to unravel and build habits which will sustain you for the next 40 years in the space of 8 weeks, you probably need to reassess.
Yeah, and that's the industry's fault for marketing and packaging things like 12-week transformations. And I know it's hypocritical because to a certain degree that's what we do, but it's that short length of time frame, you know, promising people the entire world, when in reality it's not going to take you 12 weeks, it's going to take you
like
years
I'll give an
or
example.
months,
We
you
get
know.
questions like, how do you build large glutes? That's one we get really prominently, and this is very random in the stuff. But with building glutes, it is not 12 weeks and your glutes are going to be magnificent. As we've always said, genetics and all that rest of it comes into play. But you'll need to work at it consistently for probably years. And unfortunately, that's not what people want to hear. So instead, the marketing you see is you can do this in 8 to 12 weeks. When yes, you can make substantial change in that time, but it's not going to be that ultimate in your head ever.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, if the stars align for those 12 weeks and you haven't got any, you know, life stresses or, you know, things happening, and you're able to turn up X amount of times per week and you progressively overload and you manage to hit all your targets, then yes, the amount of progress you can make in a very short period of time is really, really good. But the reality is, having dealt with tons of clients, the chances of you getting 12 to 16 weeks of absolute plain sailing where nothing impacts your life whatsoever and you haven't got any work commitments, or there's a public holiday, or you're traveling, you know, it's unrealistic.
It is unrealistic. And I think, you know, there are very, very few people that can genuinely dedicate huge amounts of time to exercise and nutrition. And normally those people are qualified in some way or another, or have sporting disciplines in which they need to obviously address.
Just very different lifestyles to, you know, a mum with 2 kids that's having to do the school run and take their kids to ballet practice afterwards.
Ballet,
or
swimming, ballet, after school activities, or not.
Like
they're
a
in
human taxi, and then you've got a
job, and you've got to work.
22-year-old
hit trainer
with their parents financially supporting them whilst they live in the gym all day. Is very different.
Like 2 polar opposite situations, and the average person and general population will be a working individual where work has its needs, wants, and unfortunately, you know, as we all realise, work is a large part of your life. And I think if you can't you just need to understand that your life won't ever run completely forward in a straight line, and where you can always fall back on things that you enjoy and feel the best doing, then obviously, you know, self-care habits and finding that thing that you enjoy is super, super important. But, you know, I think expecting to, you know, it's one of these things where people are always confused as to what to do next. And as we just brought up, you know, it's not really what you do next. It's more like just find something that you can just do on a daily basis, or not even on a daily basis. Could be 2 times a week, 3 times a week, whatever it is. You know, nutrition should be obviously, in our eyes, pretty much every day, because that's what fuels your brain. And if you don't give yourself good food, you're not going to be able to process anything properly, really.
Both mentally and physically. You need to set yourself up nutritionally just eating balanced meals, not restricting food too much in the sense of like demonizing food groups and trying
Yeah,
to
I
make
think
sure
also
that
let's talk about tracking maybe because, we are massive advocates for tracking calories,
yeah.
but we
Um,
don't.
in the sense that it's a means to an end. Once people achieve their goals and they have lost weight and they've gotten to a point where they're both happy physically and mentally, then calorie tracking no
But I
longer
don't think
is
calorie tracking should even really always be seen as weight loss. I think calorie
sure.
tracking is a tool and an educational
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
where
that's
a lot of people, unfortunately, with the education that we don't have
mm,
access to from the
mm,
school systems going forward into like later life, you know, it's one of these things where we should really know like what foods are made up of and how you really do manage your weight. Now we are obviously worldwide but also UK especially in like an obesity pandemic where you know there is huge lack of education, and it's obvious that that is lacking, and that if you can give yourself the best chance of just learning a little bit more, because
mm,
there are many people in the world that will not learn anything else in the rest of their life. They will just get on with things and just go day in, day out. But I do think it's important to empower yourself with knowledge of what you are putting in your body. And even if that is going for dinner and going out for dinner, just knowing, I
mm,
don't necessarily think it's necessarily the calorie number. I think, yes, of
no,
course, it's a great way of managing intake, your numbers, but actually
mm,
just knowing the macronutrient profile of your food that you are
yeah,
consuming every day is really valuable knowledge. And if you've got children and all of this, these are things you can then effectively educate your children on as
yeah,
well. And it's not, definitely in no way am I saying your child needs to track. That's an absolute no. What I'm trying to say is that if you have the knowledge,
yeah, because they'll
and
pick up
yeah.
from what you're doing. They a lot of it is just repetition. So whatever you're and however you're conducting yourself around those situations and those environments is going to be filtered down to the younger generation. And like Georgia says, it's not encouraging children to track calories and stuff like that.
That's absolutely absurd.
That
Please
is
don't.
yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be weird and obsessive.
Yeah.
But it's sitting down and encouraging um the very like quite a generic way of doing it is looking at your plate and then dividing the plate up into different
Yeah. You could make
food
it quite
groups
like
and
visually appealing for
visually
children as
appealing.
well.
But
Now I know this is also a lot of effort, and I can appreciate with the time of life currently, as a sort of a side note, is really, really challenging for a lot of people currently.
yeah,
And so, going and putting a fancy chopped up fucking
yeah,
vegetable
like a
on a
rainbow
side plate,
salad.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
rainbow salad, and this is what a cabbage is, absolutely ridiculous. And if you don't have the time and and the need to do that, please don't feel like you need to. We have got
Mm,
bigger things going on, right? But it is a way. And going back to tracking as such, tracking could be on nutrition, it could be on tracking your steps. But
yeah.
like if we were to talk about our situations, like as coaches, I have an Apple Watch, Mark's got an Aura ring, which is effectively like a tracking ring.
Mm,
We're both used to having tracking devices as such,
mm.
but we're not wearing them on a day-to-day basis currently because we have learnt over the years
Yeah, you pick
how
up the
active
patterns, don't
we
you?
are. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And this is a thing, is you don't necessarily always need to see that Apple Watch tick over at 10,000
yeah,
steps and think, okay, well, that's my consistency done. That's fantastic if you are reaching that every day, and you
yeah,
can. But actually, it's about doing that for a period of time to then understand that you don't need to have numbers ticking over you the whole bloody time, because
no,
that is quite stressful, and it can put you off sort of nutrition and exercise and training when you're
yeah,
constantly chasing a number of some
mm,
sort. So, being consistent doesn't always come down to ticking off numbers.
no,
It comes down for you being just consciously aware of the fact,
mindful.
mindful. But as we've said before, mindfulness does come from prior education.
Yeah,
And if you're not willing to give yourself that education to learn,
yeah.
whether
Especially when you're starting out, because there's that very famous saying, "What is managed, what is monitored can be managed." So if you understand and start to get an understanding on certain things like your metabolic rate with regards to how many calories you're intaking, how many calories your body is expending from your day-to-day movement and exercise. And these are just interesting things to know about yourself, much like, oh, my blood type is X.
Yeah,
You
everybody's
know,
so desperate to
it's
know if they're
just
like an
interesting to
endomorph
know.
X. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, realistically, it absolutely has absolutely fuck all to do with your day-to-day life. Being an endo, I'm talking about being like
Yeah, summertime.
classing yourself under little bit of brackets, or I could prime one with body shape. Do you remember when everyone
Yeah,
was
no,
referred to as
no,
fruits? Do you know what I mean?
yes,
Like,
yes,
absolutely
but just
absurd.
knowing how many calories your body roughly burns is just quite an interesting fact to know about yourself. So, getting to understand something that impacts you both mentally and physically is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, no. I'm just saying that like there are types where people focus very much on the things that they don't need to focus on.
Yes,
With like,
heavily. Like Georgia said, so what I refer to as soma type. So endomorph, mesomorph, ectomorph,
we get asked that a lot,
which
and
we
it pisses
do
me
all
off
by
because
men because of that guy V Shreds who basically says
no,
you're a such and
V
such,
Shreds
so
has got a
you
marketing
need.
campaign probably worth about 500,000 fucking
Yeah,
quid
I
because he's
get that.
literally on it the whole bloody
No, I
time.
appreciate that, but he's telling people that they are a certain body type, so they need a certain nutrition plan and a certain
I don't think
training
he's the
program.
only one.
Cough, cough. Let me provide that to you for
Yeah,
$12.99. Because
probably more
without
than that.
hitting your endomorphic blah blah blah, you haven't got a chance. When in reality, the answer is,
The same.
it's
Um,
all the same answer. That's the one thing. Like, having dealt with so many bodybuilding coaches over the years, I've hired some of the best bodybuilding coaches known to man. And
known to man.
when you take all of the programs from the gurus and you look at them, take a step back, you realize that the answer is exactly the same.
Yeah,
The
consistency.
calorie amounts are exactly the same. Yes, there's some nuance to some individuals that, because of their nature versus nurture, interpret the answers differently, but the answer's all the same. A squat's a squat. A bench press is a bench press.
Your calorie intake is your
It is
calorie intake.
literally
But
all
what
the
does it come
same.
down to, Mark? Consistency.
Applying yourself.
Applying
That's all it
yourself.
is
Application.
it comes down to the people that are ridiculously in shape are people that are consistent over anything else, and that is
Oh, I would 100% actually disagree with you on that.
okay. Well,
I'm not
that's
gonna.
the
We're not
whole.
obviously.
Okay.
I know people, and you know people who are genetically at very low body fat percentage. Now,
Yes.
don't get me wrong.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that come into genetics and somebody moving more or being more active. I've literally got people in my head which I'm not going to
Okay,
say.
but wouldn't you say that at that given period in time they were consistent to at least one self-care habit on a regular basis?
I
More
don't
so than
know
the general
because there's some
population.
people I've known who literally aren't consistent with anything, but they still look like they're like, I hate the word, in shape.
They
I don't know.
look in shape or they are in shape?
Well, they are in shape, but they don't do anything. I
I mean,
actually know
okay.
so many people, like a lot of my friends, like literally do
Uh,
absolutely fuck all, but they look like they're fine. Like in the brackets of what our mind, I don't know, psychology wise, of like looking at people of like shapes and like what in shape, really
the
is.
perception of what in shape is for the
In fact, I'm
general
going to bring this up now, and it's
population.
got nothing to do with consistency, but I feel like it's relative to what we're talking about.
Okay.
Um, we have mentioned this on a previous podcast. I've got a real big issue currently with the fact this is my issue of the day
Yeah.
is the fact that you have to look a certain way to be knowledgeable in something, and it fucks me
Yes.
off. And I'll tell you prime examples when people we had this debate the other day between me and you about whether or not, if a PT wasn't ripped to shreds or muscly or didn't look like they trained, whether or not an individual would be happy to be trained by them.
Yeah.
And no matter of their knowledge. So if you saw two people on the gym floor,
You've got
one was
no
ripped to
idea.
shreds, no idea.
No context whatsoever.
One's ripped to shreds. The other one
Yeah.
is still looks like they might not look like, but they
Dad
exercise.
bod.
Not a dad bod, Mark.
a
Like,
dad bod.
why a dad bod? Do you know what I
Because
mean?
it's just the way
I'm not even
that-
talking about a man. It could be a woman.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Somebody that maybe has a little bit more body fat on them,
Yeah.
but still exercises and still lives
Yeah.
a reasonably healthy lifestyle, okay? Which one is somebody more likely to pick based off of no context? They are
Yeah.
going to go directly to the
Yeah,
one
to the
that's got a
person in shape.
six-pack, sports bra, tiny shorts, or topless vest, you know, tight
Dick pants
trousers,
on.
dick pants, back to the leggings, you know, because they think that if that individual is in that kind of shape, that
Yeah.
they know exactly how that they can help you going forward. It is
Yes.
complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's actually the opposite.
Yeah, sometimes it's just genetics, and sometimes it's just people really like exercising.
Like I've said this time and time again, if you go to a doctor, you
Like-
don't go to by what they look like. They go by what they know and how they can help you.
You know, some people that are in shape, for example, have really not poor palates, but just don't
They're different.
mind eat. Yeah, there's just different, and they don't mind eating unpalatable food. For example, we've got a very good friend of ours who would quite happily eat scrambled eggs and rice, no sauce, just straight scrambled eggs out the pan,
You know, I got in a
straight rice, and think this is
10 out of
the
10.
the
Yeah,
bee's
and those
knees.
are the people that are selling you those fucking protein bars that taste like shit, and they actually, you're like, oh my God, am I the only one that doesn't
And you're like,
think this tastes nice? Like,
you know what I mean?
and it's like, oh, I can't wait for my sweet treat of literally like fucking jelly that's
no,
sugar free and just
yeah.
miserable in a bowl.
I
hate
saw on
jelly.
Instagram an individual that was, you know, treating himself and got a diet energy drink, and then
You
I was
just
like,
think,
right,
fuck
I've had
it.
enough.
I've had enough of
I've had
this
enough
fucking
for today.
shit. I've had enough of my 12 Twixes I've just munched on. Yeah, I mean, like, it's the same, like, you know, in fact, there was actually a prime example of, it's like nutritionists. You go to a nutritionist or a dietitian because you need their knowledge on how they can potentially help you with
Yeah.
your nutrition and your diet.
Exactly.
Does it have anything to do with what they look like? No, and it shouldn't
No.
do. I appreciate if you're sat there, because I've been like this, morbidly fucking obese, and you're preaching a health conscious thing, then people might look at this and go, well, you're not really the image of
Yeah,
health.
you
to a
don't
degree.
batter an eyelid when you go to the doctor and the doctor looks a certain way. Do you
Oh,
think,
I'll give you a prime example.
sorry, you've got an infection, you need some amoxicillin, and then you're going to be like, actually, mate, your body fat's over 40%, so I'm not going to listen to you.
I sat, like, back in the day, this is a very, very long time ago, I used to smoke. Like, me and smoking were like best friends due to probably my mental health and addictive need to
Yeah, I
move
used
the
to
whole
love a
time.
fag back in the day.
Don't say love a fag, that sounds a bit
no,
weird.
I mean,
Yeah, I know. We're blocked. Like, and I was very, very overweight at the time. This was before anything, you know. And I went to the doctors, and I was sat in the doctor's room. Whilst obviously they tell you need to get on the scale, and you know, I had like a chest infection of some degree. And the guy said to me, it was a male doctor, and he said, do you smoke? And I said, yeah. And obviously you always lie as to how much you have smoked. They're like, how many a day? You're like 2. And actually it's like 20. And,
2
you know, you've just 2 boxes, yeah. And he said, right, get on the scale because we need to do assessment. Obviously morbid obese, BMI, you know, off the Richter scale of like everything. And he was like, you need to stop smoking and lose weight. In the corner of my eye, the guy had a packet of fucking cigarettes and a lighter in the corner of his desk.
Yeah.
He was massively overweight. And I just thought, you know what? Actually, that's really contradictory because I get it. You shouldn't really be telling somebody to stop smoking when you're avidly literally got a packet of cigarettes on the side.
Yeah.
But I still don't think that me going to that doctor, he gave me probably antibiotics for my chest infection, and I left and was like, cool, whatever.
Exactly.
But it's the same with when you go into a specialist, you should not be going to a specialist based off what they look like. You should be going off of what they know. And I think time and time again in our bloody industry, it's like I'm going to go straight to the one that is ripped to shreds, and I'm not even going to consider somebody who still consistently probably is not riddled with body dysmorphia, has got their shit together, because most of the
And it's
time,
probably not narcissistic in the sense
yeah,
that
I know, I
most,
hate to
I hate to generalize, but people that have their tops off consistently on social media, look at my abs, look at this, look at that, 24/7, it's a bit narcissistic.
Well, also that, like, I just feel like if your top is off 24/7, you really don't have much else to say. Like, I just feel like that's the way of being like, look at my nipples, I've got them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, I've got the V, like, as all of the girls call it, the willy line.
The willy line.
The willy line. I've got the willy line, look at the willy line whilst I just speak to you about absolute shit, like endomorph.
Why do we always have to, like, as men in the fitness industry, why do we always have to do every demonstration with our shirt on?
Yeah, that's questionable. Like, if I want to see an ab rollout, I'd like to see it with your fucking top on. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to see your fucking concave lower back do that.
Let's film content, take your kit off.
But it's the same with girls. Like, I've always filmed content because we've always been very respectful. We have a number of different clients from different religions, cultures around the world. And I'm very conscious of the fact that if all of our videos are me, because if you have coached with us or you've ever, been part of the Arrow Club, you'll be aware that Mark does voiceover, Mark, and I exercise and I demonstrate.
I'm basically the David Attenborough for exercise.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't really say that you're that talented as David Attenborough.
My voice is
not as enjoyable.
Equally as soothing.
As soothing as David Attenborough. Yeah. I mean, anyway, so, and you'll notice, and you will have seen, that I'm always fully clothed. And whether or not I want to show you if I'm in fucking shape, it is not respectful, and you don't need to exercise naked. You can still show things very clearly, fully clothed. And unfortunately...
It also, people would just start to take the industry a little bit more seriously.
Well, I don't know. I still think this is just like, people are so visually stimulated by other people's bodies. Yeah, so visually stimulated by it. Like... we don't really do workout content on social media. Like, we do a lot of, like, obviously, if you follow us, you'll know, pretty much all infographics. And yeah, it's probably not as visually stimulating as seeing somebody half naked. And in sense of the social platforms, maybe it's not ticking all the boxes that the AI
want. I don't even own any vests.
Mark, don't even start. You used to own vests.
I used to own vests.
And why do you not own a vest now?
I just turned 30 and I just thought maybe it's time to just put some sleeves on.
Can I just point out, you didn't just turn 30,
Not
you've been
just.
30s if for a while. Like, actually, Mark thinks it is 30. That was quite a few years ago.
Yeah, vests or,
I don't know, like, I was in the gym the other day and I saw two guys that we actually haven't seen in the gym, but they clearly were just, like, there for, like, the once or session. He might as well not been wearing a vest. Like, if your vest doesn't even cover your nipples, why are you even wearing it?
The nips out.
The nips out. Like,
it's an interesting look.
My personal opinion of being naked in the gym, when we used to, not being naked, like undressed to a certain degree, when we had our own studio, I knew it was highly fucking sanitized. I knew exactly the spray and the this and that had been placed on the bench, touched. I knew exactly the cleanliness
but
of
it. But it's also a private environment.
Yeah, private environment. And I would train, obviously, we were living in Cape Town, so it was fucking boiling half the time. And I would train in leggings and a sports bra. I will not, because I have seen people with my own two eyes pick up like gross infections from gyms in gym environments of touching skin on, oh my God, it's disgusting. There was one girl I know who literally, I mean, it was the biggest scab I've ever seen on her stomach from literally placing her weight against a bench in the gym, and she picked up like an infection.
You get bacterial infections that will literally turn into flesh-eating viruses.
Oh my God, this is so deep, Mark. Yeah. Like, I don't think you're going to get a flesh. Like, if you were in a sports
gym, I had a boxing coach who went down to one of the Virgin Actives in South Africa and used a towel and rubbed himself all up and down the equipment.
Why was he rubbing himself?
Well, because he was just like doing a bench press and lying on the thing and probably like putting his face on things, and he ended up getting a bacterial infection to the point where, you know, it was.
Yeah, it's gross. It's honestly gross. And I think because I'm a bit OCD on things like cleanliness and stuff, that I think I'm probably hyper.
When Georgia used to obviously train in the privacy of a gym, our next door neighbour used to conveniently water the
We've
the
brought up Keith, the
non-existent
neighbour.
hedge.
I can
Keith,
actually slate Keith so much in this
Yeah.
podcast because I absolutely know he's not
Yeah.
listening to it and has
with
no
his shirt
idea.
off, haven't slept for about 4 days, is like watering the imaginary plant, watching Georgia exercise.
God, it was weird when you clock somebody watching you and you're actually, we were in a very private environment and I was like, how is this guy like over the fucking fence? Like I was like, does he watch you as well? And I was like, maybe I shouldn't be training in this area. But anyway, I mean, going off of like being consistent, if we go all the way back to before I just stereotype people, you know, it is this thing where like consistency is different on every individual. And there are people who don't really have to be that consistent and are genetically gifted. Now, these people are few and far between. I'm not saying that everybody that is in shape doesn't try. There are fucking people that put huge amounts of effort in, like dedication.
So consistent. It is
deserve medals
nothing
daily.
but, you know, exemplary. You know what I mean? I look at some people that are just so militant in their consistency, and I'm like,
fuck, I just want a tea cake.
No, I appreciate people that are very consistent and.
Yeah, but I do think again, like you know, it could be anything. Like a lot of people are very, very consistent with their jobs or work and progress very, you know, and it's the same kind of thing. Not everybody's going to do that, but I think consistency, as we said, is a different image on everybody. You know, consistency could be that you tick all the boxes, but it's just not 150% all the time. Like it's not that you're 100% militant with your calories or you're militant with your sleep regime, but you're consistently conscious that you are being, I guess, advocates to your own well-being. But I think, you know, in the grand scheme of things, you know, that you are never going to be perfect.
No.
And unless you are that rare source of human, which, as we've just brought up, who can be and does have the lifestyle to be, or the personality, you know, behavior traits of somebody that can be like that, then great, like good for you. But they are few and far between. I've rarely ever worked with somebody that is 150% consistent for long term.
No, not just like general population.
No,
but even,
I mean, it's
even
not, it's
with
normal.
the professional athletes that we've dealt with, that is everybody's hardest hurdle, is to just be consistent. And like Georgia said, breaking it down into smaller segments of consistency, for example, towards certain things does make it that much easier to adhere to certain self-care habits.
Like go back to being the 40-year-old that's lived their life in a 40 years in the X environment. You know, if it means that for 6 months of your life, so you're 40 and 6 months, you know what I mean, that you're only really just focusing on what you're intaking a day potentially. You've not even considered movement. You haven't even thought about, you know, any of that. But for 6 months, you are adherent and consistent to your targets. That is so much better off than not trying to do anything at all, or by trying to take all of it and then, you know, it falls off the rails.
And then think that you can't do it.
Because what is 6 months in the grand scheme of things? If you spent 40 years or 20 years or 30 years in these patterns and routines, 6 months is absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. So
if you had to look at it like a
rushing
fraction,
it,
it's the smallest or minutest percentages. When you compare a small percentage of 8 weeks, or like Georgia said, 6 months, to decades.
Yeah, like you just, it's the same with when you might be injured or things need to be adapted. Like the grand scheme of things, you can get back 100% to 100%, but it's also going to take time, you know. And if you as we've said with joint mobility, for example, if you've spent many, many years in certain postures, don't think it's going to happen and your posture and your pain will go away within literally 4 weeks, 8 weeks. It won't. It's consistency that of consistently doing it. How many times have we said consistent? That gets you to that end goal, or to further along in your goals in general.
And something has to be done though. Like there has to be something actioned on a consistent basis for you to actually see some return. So you don't have to be perfect and you don't have to hit everything on the head, but you do have to do something.
I think if you, I mean, like unfortunately, like if you spoke to, I guess, my grandparents' age and, the much elder generation, so we're saying maybe 80, 90 years old, they've only ever really known things as being quite limited as such. So like when it came to nutrition and all of these things, they went through world wars where there was rations and there was this and implemented, and they were taught in a way, not that you should ration yourself so much, but that this was the amount you could have and this is what's going to fuel you, and you are going to walk to the shop or you are going to go there and you are going to be very active. And so of that age range, only till very much later on in their life, so I'm saying probably when they're around 70, did they see that any of their friends or family members, whatever, were overweight. Because now we have this thing where we have everything literally in the palm of our hands, and it is really counterproductive, and it's not taught us, but it's shown us that we have to be slightly adherent to our nutrition on a day-to-day basis, because otherwise we are going to end up overweight. We are going to, if we're not active, we're going to end up immobile.
Like society is changing so much quicker than our evolution as a human being, and because many, like Georgia said, different generations, if you were hungry, you were putting your coat on, putting your shoes on, going down to the shops.
That's even if they had the ability to.
Even if you could be asked, you know what I mean? You'd be like, no, I will just wait until next week.
And was the shop even down the road, or was the shop fucking miles away?
But now we've got everything, highly palatable foods, thousands and thousands of calories that you can order without having to expend 1 calorie to get up and get the food. So your expenditure to consumption rate has dramatically increased as technology.
So that's why you should be aware of what you're doing every day. And sorry to say this, but you need to be. And as we said, it's not 100% perfect. There's going to be days where
we're also a generation of the younger generation are also, to a certain, I know this might be a general statement, and I'm happy to be told I'm wrong, but like most people, the younger generation struggle to cook. Less and less people know how to cook, and
I've dealt with many clients that literally don't know how to cook.
You're then having to rely on takeaways and the Uber Eats, all going and eating at a restaurant, and people are under the assumption that just eating restaurant food and restaurant-based food is not going to be incredibly calorie dense, because the reality is when you go to a restaurant, you go in there to eat for flavor. You're not going there to eat a calorie controlled meal, where instead of cooking your steak in a skillet or whatever, it's
do you even know what a skillet is?
Of course I know what a skillet is. Half a stick of butter. You know what I mean? I'm not demonizing food. Let's just, you know what I'm trying to get at is that your meal has gone from 400 calories to now 900 calories,
if not more.
So, sometimes scientific studies, when they've done the macro composition, calorie composition of restaurant foods to home cooked meals, you're looking at a difference between 50 to 250% increase in calories.
Yeah, and and if you don't know how to, going back to being, consistent and aware of what you potentially do on a day-to-day basis, like, as we said, not every day you're going to be aware, but on that general basis of being aware with it, why we need to give a fuck about what we eat is because, and also why we need to give a fuck about educating ourselves on
Yeah.
these things is so that you are better off. It means that you can have all of this, but you need to understand what's in it and how. And if you don't know how to
where your
cook,
boundaries are. So you know what foods you can enjoy, what foods you should likely prioritize. Like when you go to a meal, you should be like, hey, I should always consider having some form of protein, whether it's plant-based or it's animal-based. This should probably be the most important thing in my meal, followed by and then fill
yeah,
in the
but like say
gaps.
you go to like an Asian restaurant, you're not going to be picking out the pieces of fucking meat or thing from
No,
a
you're
curry. Do you know
not.
what I mean?
You know,
But again, you make wiser choices to say like, okay, maybe today I still want to have the curry, but I'm going to make sure that I don't necessarily have all the sauces and all the sides, but I'm still going to enjoy the curry in the sense of have some of it, but not all of it. And I think, as we said, like that is consistency because that's you being adherent
yeah.
to understanding that you can have things, but it's got to be relevant to you and to what your body needs and wants. And
And you can enjoy social outings, and
so much better though.
you just need to make minor adjustments. So, like if you're gonna go drinking, and you want to still be consistent and adherent to the overall scheme of things, then you can make wiser alcohol-based choices using diet sodas, using white or brown spirits, things that can save you a few calories here and there, and that you can still be.
Yeah, but like we shouldn't ever feel like when we're talking about this, like sometimes you can get into that thing of, oh God, are you telling me I can't have something or should? But I think it's one of these things where, in general, like as we said, as we have got into a more convenient style of eating and the fact that everything is instantaneous, unfortunately, worldwide, we are now in the situation we really need to give a fuck. And if we don't give a fuck, unfortunately, you're not going to be healthy for long periods of your life. You're probably going to be unwell at some point later on in your life, or you might pick up things which are and if you can take control of that and be consistent with how you view food and how you intake food, then you're going to be far better off in the long term. And it's the same with exercise. We're not saying, like, I know Mark is an advocate for strength training, so am I, with all the benefits for later life and whatnot, but just the same as going for a brisk walk, be conscious of the fact that you actually need to move every day. And I want to sort of wrap up the podcast now, but I had a client once who said to me that she has never ever had a takeaway delivered to her home. If she wants a takeaway, she has to walk to the restaurant. And I thought, okay, might be a little bit extra, but it kind of makes sense because I don't think food should be seen as a reward in any sense. I think food should be seen as fuel, and exercise should not be seen as punishment. But I think it's that thing of, okay, I am wanting to eat something, but I'm not going to get it to come to me. You know what I mean? I'm going to go and get it if I really want it. So at least you are going to go and have some daily activity and be conscious of the fact that like you're making those choices. But yeah, in general, how would you like to end consistency, Mark? Be consistent.
The main thing is not just focusing on the the physical benefits. It's the consistency that's really going to help with your mental health. It's the consistency that's going to help you in later years when you are a senior. What it's like the way
and also
I
your
see
children
it,
and all of this,
the way I see it is like investing. What you do now is going to pay dividends later on in life. So being consistent, as boring as it seems, is going to pay off huge dividends later on in life when you're able to sustain a good quality of life
and you should see yourself, like as we said, on menstrual cycles, about menopause and understanding, preparing for future. You need to do that. And this is not us going save for a pension, and at the moment we can't even see a month ahead with the worldwide shit, but it's that thing of just be aware that your implications will carry on with you throughout your whole life if you don't address them. So if you just take an active, conscious decision to be more consistent, things that help you,
and that you
enjoy, you'll be far better off. Now I know obviously alcohol's really enjoying and all of that things, but I'm talking in the sense of health and wellness. So that's our little podcast today based on consistency. We just want to thank you all for listening to all the episodes so far. We're really glad that you're enjoying it all. Maybe we will have a jingle, maybe not in episode 10.
It's in the pipeline.
Yeah, it's in the pipeline. At this rate, it's going to be BBC News jingle. Like literally trauma.
Like how you used to record your what is it? Your
What do you mean? Now
your
Mark's
voice note, not a voice note. Your
ringtone.
not your ringtone. Your voicemail.
Your
Back
voice
in the
note.
day,
Yeah. Hello,
they
this is
used to
Georgia here. If you could just
play
please
the
leave your.
song.
Did you have a song?
Yeah, I used to play this. They used to put the phone next to the start to the.
Okay, I don't know if this is a Zimbabwean thing, but I've never played a
this
song
was
on a
pre
voicemail.
CDs when you're at the.
Mine
you're
was
listening
Snow.
to MTV, and then you have to press play and record at the same time, and then you play a song, and then
What, on a voicemail?
yeah, so you can.
So you just leave somebody a
so it's
music
like,
voicemail.
and you're like, hey, couldn't get to the phone.
Oh
Leave-
my God. I don't think we definitely wouldn't have been together if we were younger. I don't think that's bizarre, Mark.
It was.
If you've ever played
it
music
was
down
like
a
early
voicemail,
2000s.
what are you, a
weird.
salesman? Do you know what I mean? Like on
Yeah,
hold?
Like, you see a little J-Lo,
No.
J-Rule.
It should be, hello, this is Georgia. I'm sorry I can't get to the phone.
You
Please
have a little
leave your-"
intro song, little intro, and then you fade it out, and then you're like, hey.
Well, it's funny that because you can't manage GarageBand as well as that currently. So we'll end the podcast now and hope that Mark can edit it and save it. We will speak to you soon, guys. Thanks for listening. Bye.